What's up guys, Mr. Basie here, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that is definitely controversial because a lot of people are probably going to either disagree with this statement or disagree with, portions of this particular argument. So the topic at hand today is why it's important to not take anything out of the game, and we're specifically talking about Halo, but I believe this does apply to pretty much every game out there. There's no real reason to take anything out of the game, even if it's overpowered, or it's considered by many to be overpowered. And a few great examples, one in particular that I'm going to refer to probably multiple times in the video, so I apologize in advance, is the transition from Halo Reach to Halo 4. Okay, there were some pretty good implementations that were carried over and added in Halo Reach, but at the same time, and probably more importantly, there were a lot of things, a lot of features that were taken out of Halo 4's Forge that were included in Halo Reach's Forge, like fine-tuning. Rather, in Halo 4, they decided to replace those with magnets. Now, the magnets, let's just be honest, they were kind of trash. I mean, the magnets were very, very bad. They didn't even react the way that you needed them to, so it wasn't something that was generally a good implementation, but, at the same time, you understand where 343 was, but, it wasn't a good implementation. My whole point being is that there was no reason to take out fine-tuning. Like, what was their rationale behind taking out fine-tuning? They could have simply, kept fine-tuning in and added their magnet system, If people wanted to use the magnet system, people that were less experienced might appreciate the magnet system a little bit. But the fine-tuning was what was used by a large portion of the community. People had gotten used to that, and it was generally a better implementation because you could really dial in your edits and whatnot. So that's an example of something that didn't need to be taken out of the game. There's nothing that needs to be taken out of the game. The bolt shot, for example, guys, I think a very large portion of us can agree that the bolt shot, except for the people that used it religiously because they didn't want to die or whatever, but the bolt shot was very overpowered even after the buff, or I'm sorry, after the nerf. About halfway through the game, the bolt shot was still a pretty powerful gun to have at spawn. It was basically having a pocket shotgun. And some people might speculate differently, but that's essentially what it was, at least for the the few rounds that you had when you charged it up. But it's not something that needed to be taken, or I'm sorry, it didn't get taken out of the game. But some people may say, well, what about that? Why wouldn't we take something that overpowered out of the game? Because there's no reason to. It doesn't need to be used in matchmaking, okay? It doesn't need to be used in custom games. Just include it in the game. Have it as a spawnable weapon in custom games. Maybe have it in a few matchmaking game types like Fiesta. Fiesta Slayer is generally very, fun. It's not serious. Nobody really takes it serious. I'm sure a few people do, but Fiesta is that game type where everything's just crazy, right? So a gun like the bolt shot in Fiesta might work better in that game type, but don't include it in anything else. Or, again, keep it in the game, but keep it available in custom game options. There's really no reason to take any guns out. There's a bunch of guns that were taken out of like Halo 3 to Halo Reach and still haven't really returned. Bolt shot, or I'm sorry, not the bolt shot, the brute, I'm drawing a blank, but the brute, rocket launcher. It's probably so obvious, but I'm drawing a blank right now. Either way, there's no reason to take anything out of the game because you don't need to. You just don't implement it in certain areas. I mean, look at territories. Territories is a game type that is not widely played anymore. But I'm fairly positive it's still in. I mean, I haven't checked recently, but I'm fairly positive it is still in the custom game settings. You can still play territories if you wanted to. Now, of course, not everybody plays territories. As a matter of fact, the last time that territories that I recall was in matchmaking was in Halo 3. But that doesn't mean that it's out of the game. It's still in the game. If you want to play it in custom game, you can play in custom game, There's no reason to take it out. That's my whole point here. And I'm going to really quickly refer to a different platform, Counter-Strike. Now, I refer a lot to Counter-Strike because there are some implementations, and I don't think that it's a bad thing that I refer to them, because there are implementations in Counter-Strike that are very good implementations. There's a reason that game has, it came out in early 2000, and it's still massively popular today in 2015. There's a reason for that, okay? So the few things that I want to point out is throughout pretty much the entire lifespan of Counter-Strike, there have been a few maps that have been taken out, if I'm not mistaken, but generally, every single map has stayed. I mean, okay, like I said, of course, there's a few exceptions, but every single map has stayed, and or the ones that haven't are slowly being brought back in the remastered form on CS:GO, which is the most recent Counter-Strike, for those of you that don't know. And all of the guns, again with a few exceptions, have been carried over. The Desert Eagle, the AK-47, the M4, A4, A1, all of those things. I mean, there's a bunch of other guns. I can't really name them all right now, mainly because I don't remember them all. But, I mean, you understand what I mean. This is a game that has maintained its success for close to, if not 15 years now, and is still extremely popular. A lot of that has to do with its, you know, its baseline implementations and how good the game is at its core. But I mean, there's no reason Halo doesn't have that these days, even with the more updated, you know, schematics of like sprinting and you basically, you know, they're kind of adopting more Call of Duty like traits and whatnot. But even now, with the updated schematics of the game, there's no reason that at its core, Halo is any less than Counter-Strike for console. You know what I mean? You know, there's different reasons for, you know, different platforms or whatever, but we won't get into that. So, when it comes to this, you have to understand that it's ultimately pointless to take anything, really, even maps, out of a game. Yes, it may be a little bit more, you know, financially troublesome on the developer to continuously bring these maps in and remaster them with the new graphics, but they can always add them as DLC. I mean, as much as we, as a consumer, do not like that, or we wouldn't appreciate that, I mean, I think most people would think that that's reasonable. I don't personally agree that they should do that, but that's reasonable, right, if they were to bring it back. That's essentially what Counter-Strike does, you know. But, you know, there's no reason to take it out. Matter of fact, none of the weapons that have ever been in Halo should be taken out. It should just be, you know, more guns should be added over time. You know, it would add a lot more diversity in Halo. It would add a lot more variation in terms of what can we do with this game type, or what do we want in this. I mean, Fiesta Slayer, if you think about every gun that's ever been in Halo, and you say, let's play Fiesta Slayer, and you have those particular schematics, if you're playing with, you know, in that, you know, imaginative variation of the game that we've got going right now, Fiesta Slayer would be freaking insane. I mean, it would be absolutely bonkers. Really, it would be. So I hope that this commentary kind of opened your eyes a little bit and helped you see my point, where it's just not worth it to take out guns. It's not worth it to take out maps. You might not want to include every single map right off the bat, but you can have them in DLC later on down the road. There's no reason to take out game types. There's no reason to take out features. The thing that's going to make the game great is the things that you decide to add. And whether or not those things are good or bad, like, you know, if magnets, for example, we're going to jump back to Reach now, or jump back to Forge rather. If magnets was a bad implementation, which it was, we could have easily went back to fine-tuning if it was just an added benefit to Forge that we had seen over the course of time. And it wouldn't have been such a massive mess up on their part if fine-tuning was still in the game, because we could have said, you know what, your magnets didn't work out, take them back, not, you know, don't take them out, take them back, work on them, reimagine them, re-implement your design, bring it back into the game, or have an update with it, whatever it is you want to do. And, you know, in the meantime, we'll use this, and then when you update your magnet system and it comes out again, we will see if it's better. You know what I mean? Let the person, you know, let the person that's playing the game decide. That's my whole point here. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Please rate the video what you think it deserved, and if you'd like to become a Sage in training, make sure you subscribe today. This has been Mr. Basie, your favorite Sage, and as always, guys, I'll see you in the next video.